Well, our collet materials, we just use the highest quality alloy steel carbon that's typically used for making collets. It's a type of spring steel. It's just good. It's good quality. It gets very hard in Buckle 58. So our collet material itself is finest quality, which many other companies use equivalent quality for their collets themselves. We do have a proprietary heat treatment for our collets, but that is more related to controlling distortion than it is to making it any harder than anyone else's collets. And there's a lot of collets on the market that are not as hard as they should be. So ours is better than many, if not most, but it's not particularly special in the high-end industry. The top quality collets are all made out of steel that's similar to our collets. The cartridge, however, is something different. That is an exotic tool steel. It's an exotic die steel that it's very high chromium, it's very high wear resistant steel, and it's also extremely stable dimensionally. And we started using that steel when we first started with our cartridges, and we actually worked with the metallurgist. It was a Japanese metallurgist who invented this die steel to develop a proprietary heat treatment process. It's a triple tempering. We harden and triple temper, including a cryogenic treatment in between. So it's triple tempered and cryogenically treated, super wear resistant high chromium die steel that we make our cartridges out of. This is a steel that is much more robust than the steel that's typically used in the spindle of machine tools. It has longer lasting wear characteristics. Our cartridge costs almost $4,000, so that's a lot of money to spend. You need something that's robust and will hold up, and it does. That's why we use that steel. It's not easy to grind, and Dragan's a master at this kind of stuff. We have thousands of cartridges out there, right? In the beginning, we actually had some dimensional growth in our material, so we were having some cartridges that were getting too tight in the machines, they wouldn't fit. And that's how we ended up working directly with the metallurgist who invented it. Because we determined, hey, these things they're bigger. Dragan's like, I didn't make them that size. And this isn't by much. We're talking like a 10,000th of an inch, a tenth diameter, not much. I said, but that's a tenth oversized. There's no way I made, because back in those days, in the beginning, he did all the high precision grinding himself. I mean, this was in the early days. Dragan oversaw everything personally. He's like, there's no way. And the fact that I even brought up that possibility was life-threatening. Something's going on here. They're growing. They're getting bigger. And because we checked a bunch in stock and they're bigger. Yeah, we ended up modifying the heat treatment. So we have a proprietary heat treatment, this triple tempering and cryogenic treatment. It's very expensive. They're not cheap to do. It's a piece of steel that's super resilient, very wear resistant, lasts a long time, holds accuracy really well. That was one issue we had. We've had some issues here and there, mostly related to machine crashes. Every time someone complains about concentricity, we have never in the history of this company had a cartridge that had a concentricity problem. Upon examination of the cartridge, has ever shown to be the cartridge's fault. And I have a big, massive flow chart to give to customers to troubleshoot their concentricity issues. It always comes down to basically something with the machine, or the sleeve has too much slop in it. And it's not like we are trying to put the blame on somebody else, Customers actually appreciate it when we can point out what is really wrong. Even if it is in their machine and their bearings or whatever, at least they're fixing the problem. You don't chase your tail. When you have the traditional collet that varies in concentricity, you always assume something's wrong with the collet, so you're swapping out collets and doing this. Oh, this is the best I can get it. With our system, if it's not running true, I say don't even put a collet in it yet. Just put the cartridge in, indicate the cartridge, get that to run true. That's the problem. Oh, there's something wrong, the cartridge won't run true. Then why won't it run true? It's not the cartridge, I guarantee you. It's something in the machine. Maybe your sleeve's oversized. Maybe it's loose, and maybe your bearings have a problem. Maybe your nut's crooked or whatever. There's a lot of, and this flow chart gives all those possibilities. So, when people say they have a concentricity issue, I tell them, hey, I'll work with you, remotely. We can do Zoom at the machine if you want. Please read this flow chart. It looks like I'm giving you a maze to jump through. That's what it takes to solve. And people are very receptive. Yeah, we want our product to work. It's a personal pride. If it's not working, we want to make it work. And we want to show them either how to make it work or show them why it's not working. So either way, they can adjust. Maybe they don't want to change out their bearings because for 90% of the parts, 6/10 concentricity is good enough. My sleeve, I don't want to put a new sleeve in. This is good enough. This job is a pain in the ass. I'll put it on this other machine. Okay, that's fine. But at least they know. When I hear somebody struggling with our stuff, we've even had customers who standardized on our stuff and they're having an issue. In the last trade show we went to, a customer came out, really good customers. Oh yeah, we're having a great time, but yeah, this overgrip collet's breaking, so I just can't use the overgrip anymore. And I'm like, my ears perk up. It's like, what? You're not using it because it's breaking. Well, what's the problem? Let me work with you. He said, we know it's not your problem. It's something we're doing wrong in the machine. The parts, chips are getting wrapped and stuff. Well, let's try to figure out how to solve the chip wrap. So even though they didn't blame our collets, I wanted to make sure that they were doing everything right to get it to work for them. I want it to work. I don't want them to be replacing collets and just saying, yeah, that's the price of doing it. No, let's fix it. That overgrip collet, it should run production for 6 months. It shouldn't have to change every 2 weeks, And a lot of that honestly really is personal pride on my part. I think it's important, and that's the only way. In this business, it's very hard to gain a good reputation. You have to earn it with a lot of effort and a lot of performance is how you have to earn it. It's mostly with performance. You have to perform. But you can lose that in an instant. You can destroy a reputation 100 times faster than you can build one.